Hey guys, today we're going to talk about a topic that has really been on my mind lately. And as you know, I'm an ISTJ, and I'm wondering if this might be why it's on my mind more, or it may be on every new mother's mind. But what we're talking about today is kind of like, should your ISTJ wife work outside the home? So a little bit of background is I would classify myself legitimately as a workaholic. Before I had my son, I was working 5 jobs. I'm not kidding, 5. So I had an engineering job. I was teaching at 2 different schools, multiple classes. I was tutoring math and science, and I was doing training gigs on the side over the weekends. And so when you introduce a child into your life, the question is, something's got to give, and where does that happen? So my first question for you, Joe, is did you think about that when we were expecting, like, oh, Deanna's going to have to pare back?
No, but I want to do one little sidebar. I'll get right back to the question. This is why I always think, I've been thinking lately that you're an ESTJ, is because the many jobs, TE users like yourself tend to overload their plate. But when we were expecting, I just thought you would put a pause on it until he got to a certain age, and then you would just pick back up. Or what a lot of people do is they just rearrange their schedule to make it work. So you would be like, okay, well, I'll just, or you'd put more on me, be like, well, I'm going to do these things still. Yeah. What's going to happen is you're going to take more of the duties and responsibilities. So I actually never for once thought that you would stop doing what you're doing, maybe just for maternity leave, but that was it.
Okay. I think I was legitimately naive because I had the same thought, almost like thinking of like having a child is just like a big sneeze. Like you sneeze, the child's here. Sure, you're going to take your 6 weeks off or whatever, maybe a little bit more for maternity leave. Then you get right back at it, you know? And, I guess there's been a lot of thoughts here in my mind about like, okay, well, if I quote quit or let go of one of these 5 jobs, what does that do about my value? Mm-hmm. Like, am I measuring my value to the world by these external things, like by these achievements? You know, when I meet people, it's almost kind of awkward because they go, what do you do? And I'm like, well, out of the 5 things I do, I'm not going to like stand there and list them to you. So I just like cherry pick one thing and I go, oh, I teach at a university or whatever. Yeah. And then for months, they'll think that that's all that I do. And then I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, I also do all these things, you know?
And when I introduce you to people or I mention you to other people and I tell them all the jobs you have, they always call you like Queen Deanna. They always think you're the best. And it always kind of makes me look good. So there's like a little bias there because like, wow, your wife she's so accomplished. She's done so much. And like, and then I think like, well, how awesome was I to land someone like her? So there's a little bit of that there. But yeah, you've always struggled with, what do I do? So sometimes it'd just be like a gamble. You'd be like, well, today I'll say I'm an engineer. Tomorrow I'll say I'm a tutor. The next day I'll say this or that.
Well, I was going to say, you know, people say, oh, she's such a queen or whatever. That is the exact problem because it feeds my ego.
That's good.
And I'm like, yes, I am. And if I quit one of my 5 jobs, does that mean I'm not a queen anymore? You know what I mean? Like that. And unfortunately, like in my opinion, we should all sort of strive to find that like inner value and not need the external feedback. But that's just personally, and I wonder if that has to do just with my personality type, that I live for productivity. Like that's how I measure my value.
Yeah. And with us, think about productivity or accomplishments or benchmarks or quotas for a son, it's like, I guess or our daughter or a kid, it's much harder to compare. I mean, you could say like if you met another family that had a son or daughter the same age that wasn't quite up to the level where it's like, well, that's because I'm so accomplished. Our kid's going to be accomplished. That's the way that you could show it. But it's not as obvious, and it's not the feedback on terms of like your accomplishment isn't quick. It could take a long time for them to develop into what am I trying to say here? Do you see what I'm saying? Where it's like, you can get good grades, you can get a high paying job, you can get a new title, you can get a raise. That's all measurable. Everyone can see that externally, the house you have, clothes you wear. But when you're raising a son or daughter, all that stuff's internal. Not a lot of people see it. They don't see the work. They don't see the productivity.
I mean, until they're like 18.
Until they're 18.
Like, wow, look what a great son you raised. And not that like if he turns out great that I should take all the credit or anything. But I see what you're saying, that it's like a long game for sure. Versus like almost like the reason why I like watching basketball is people are scoring constantly all the time. And I just like can't stand baseball because it's too slow, football too slow, like that kind of thing. I mean, I'm telling you guys, I worked so much that I'll never forget the day I was in the car with my dad once. I was early 20s. My dad told me that he legitimately thought that he would never have any grandkids because I was such a career woman.
Right.
And so that sort of was a wake-up call for me, like, hold on, what are my values? So that's what I've really been struggling with lately. Like, what do I value? Like, when I look back at my lived life, what am I going to be truly proud of? You know?
Right. Yeah. It's hard when you're a TE user, and this is why I think like you sometimes are more of an ESTJ is because you do like accomplishments and titles, and I don't know if as many people will consider having kids an accomplishment.
Unfortunately, I think that's a societal problem, in my opinion. I remember talking to we have some friends that have 3 kids, and I remember talking to them before I had any kids, and I was, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed out. Like I am working so hard, and I remember he said to me, "You get to work. You're choosing to work. You get to do whatever you want." And I did not understand what he was saying. I was like, it's not like I'm going fishing every day.
Right.
He kind of made it sound like I was living a leisurely life. And I 100%, it went completely over my head what he was saying. But the truth is, after you have children, it's almost like a video game we were talking about. When you design your character, you literally only have a certain amount of time and skill and energy to fill up your day or your week or your month. And so if I'm choosing to work, it's like an opportunity cost. I'm choosing to work, therefore I don't get to spend time with my son. I'm having to pay for childcare or whatever. And that could be okay if I truly am passionate about what I'm doing and I feel that my son is safe and he's learning, then that's okay. But I'm feeling it more so that everything is a give and take in life that I didn't notice before having children.
And I love the comment about the video game because it's really like if you're designing an NBA character on a video game, you can't have 100% all skills. So something has to give. And this is what I believe Deanna is struggling with is like, I could give, I used to be able to give 100% and everything and everything would maintain just like the perfect amount. But now that something's got to give. So it's like, well, tell them people what you've done lately to give more and take less.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I had 5 jobs before my son came. I definitely got rid of the training gigs because that was easy. I just chose to stop doing them. And then, so I was down to 4 jobs. Even within those 4 jobs, I cut back how many classes I was teaching. So that kind of helped a little bit. And I just recently, I'm still honestly processing this, quit one of the schools that I had been teaching at for a long time.
Right.
And so I'm down to 3 jobs, which may still sound really insane to everyone. But to me, I'm like, okay, my world is starting to open up. And I always have the choice to bring one back or to let another one go. And that's the hard part about my personality because I truly am like a black and white thinker. So I think I'm all in either way. So I have this fear of like, if I let go of this job, I'll never, ever, ever be able to get it back. It's like doomsday, Yeah,
that's that SINE is like unfamiliarity with a future that is not quite clear, and that's also why you stick to things for such a long time. I mean, you've been tutoring since 2005, whatever year it was. Like you just stick with things, and once you're locked into something, you pursue it until really you come to a breaking point where there's like something's got to give. But most of the time, you would keep doing something even though you didn't love it or like it because you'd committed to it and everyone basically gave you validation like you're the best, you're so good, but now it's just you have to stop.
Okay, few things about what you just said. Here's the thing. Let's say I have students constantly every semester give me great reviews saying that I'm the best teacher they've ever had and I made such a difference in their life. That used to fill up my cup enough. And I was enjoying lecturing and actually the process of teaching. Now, I got to a point where because it was taking time away from my son, it's like, what do I like more? I felt like I stopped enjoying it as much. The kids were still giving me good feedback, but it wasn't enough. Like just feeding my ego wasn't enough to feed the other things that I need.
Right.
Okay, the other thing that I wanted to say is my personality type is an upholder. Okay, you give me the rules, I follow them as long as you tell me they're tested and proven. Right? If I find a better way, I will implement it and advocate for it. But once I find what works, I just keep doing it over and over and over again. And change is really, really, really hard for me. You've got to convince me that it is for the good in order to implement something new. And this has what has been the struggle for me becoming a mother is I don't have that rule book. Number one, no one gives you a rule book and they can't even if they try because every kid is individual and every parent and lifestyle is individual.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I'm doing. Give me a rule book, I'll do it. But if I have no rule book and I'm like just trying to look on YouTube and read books and like figuring out on my own, that takes a lot of time and energy to like formulate my new process that I will actually feel comfortable with. And because I don't have a process yet, then it's scary because it's the unknown. And then get this, once you get a process, the kid changes. And you got to change it again. And you're just like, you feel so chaotic and you cannot settle. There's no settling. And ISTJs like to settle. They like to find those rules and just sit there and uphold them and keep the machine running. People called me a machine. That was like my nickname. And there's something getting into my machine all the time now.
Yeah. And I don't know what that would be. Is it just that he keeps changing or that, I mean, it's not always a big process. It's not always a big thing that changes. Like sometimes it's just he doesn't sleep all night and then your sleep is ruined. So then you feel bad. So then you don't go to the gym or you don't go to yoga. And then so you have your bad sleep and then a routine that every Monday I go, but now you're feeling bad, so you cancel that, and you feel bad because you didn't go, and then things spiral out of control. And I think kind of what our types are control types, and we've talked about this internally about why when we both have a decision we want to make, we dig our heels in because it's really just an issue of we have the way that we want to do things. Which are usually not articulated to each other. That's the main problem. It's I wake up and I'm like, this is what I'm doing today. She wakes up and this is what she's doing today. And then at some point, right before we're both about to do the thing that deviates, we go, this is what I'm doing. She goes, that's what I'm doing. And then we're like, someone compromises and it's usually me, but just not because I'm a great guy, but because she's a stronger personality. She's like, nope, she's more forceful.
That's really interesting that you feel like you're the one that typically sacrifices because I tend to feel the opposite. I do feel like you are happy wife, happy life a lot. You kind of ask yourself, does this really matter? And then you let go faster about certain things. I will give you that. But in terms of lifestyle, you love to go into work. I personally feel like I make more of the quote sacrifice to be please go into work. I want you to, so I do marriage always give and take, but never exactly 50-50.
Yes.
That's the thing. And so here's the thing is society. Now, I don't know if this is because I grew up in California. It could be. But society is you're a woman, you're amazing, you can and you should do it all. You should work. You can raise a child, have as many children as you want, take some time off, go back to work, climb the ladder. You can and you should do it all. So then when you find yourself struggling trying to do it all, you go, what's wrong with me? Society told me I was supposed to be able to do everything.
Right.
I'm going to be a great mom and a great coworker and peer and a great friend and a great daughter and a great sister. I'm going to be a great person all around. And then you're worried, what is wrong with me because I cannot do it all? So what I've been thinking about is setting up the proper expectations for women.
Right.
To be like, listen, you might have a child and you might want to stay home with them the whole time. And that's okay. You're not like less than because you're not working outside the home.
Right.
Or if you love your job and you're passionate about it and you find this amazing daycare place that your kid has so many friends and loves his teachers, like that's okay too.
Yeah.
It's okay for whatever people choose. But I think my problem is because I'm such a planner, I had an idea of what my life would look like. And if anything, quote, falls short than that, then it feels like a failure.
Yeah.
But it's expectations that I set on myself. And I don't think anyone around me is going to be like, how dare you only work 3 jobs now, Deanna?
No, but you might get less queen compliments, and that'll be something to get over.
I have to know that I am, and I have the potential to do all those things if I wanted in seasons of my life. That's the thing.
Yeah. And you have to, I know some people personally that didn't make it, quote, make it in their career until after their kids moved out, till they were in their like late 40s and 50s, and they just like exploded in life and highly successful. So, and they went back to things that they used to, you know, what they went to school for. So I like to work. I would, you know, I think men have to work, but that's a whole different discussion.
I agree.
But it is, to what she said, it is probably 60-40, 65-35. Maybe it's a little better. Maybe it's 60-40 of her to me. Some days of the week it's like 80-20.
It ebbs and flows.
But I don't think it's ever 50-50.
No.
And that's kind of it's too idealistic to be, in the world that we live in now, to actually have a pure 50-50. So that's my thought there.
Okay, so here's the other thing. When you become a mother, everyone always tells you to follow your motherly instincts, and they don't actually always come right away because this is the first time you've ever been a mother. Eventually you do find that intuition and you go like, oh, he's tired, I can tell, or, you know, I need to feed him. Even though he's not saying he's hungry, I know he needs to eat, that kind of thing. So you learn that. But I heard of this term called matrescence, which I thought was really interesting. When you go through puberty, for example, when you're a teenager, you don't just one day go from child to teenager. Like it's like over a span of years, like maybe from, you know, age 11 till 14 or whatever, you're slowly giving up your childhood things and slowly picking up new things.
Yeah.
And you're learning to be your new person. You're finding your identity, and it's hard for you, it's hard for your peers, it's hard for your parents. But it's not one day and then the next. And when you become a mother, you're pregnant and then you have a baby. And you think, oh, now I'm a mom, I should know what I'm doing and things like that. But in reality, you, over the span of years, are learning now your new identity and where you fit in the world and in your family and your purpose. And it's not overnight.
Right.
Do you feel that as a father? Or did you think, I'm a dad, I know what to do. I'm now a dad and that's fine. You accepted it.
I prepped as much as you can with reading and stuff like that, because that's what I did to prep, and I talked to other dads and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the struggles that I thought I would have, I did have. A lot of the things that I didn't think I would be extremely excited about, I am fine with, or they don't bother me as much. But I just keep going back to the control thing. Is I am so used to controlling my time, our time together, what you and I would do. You know, you and I could be more, have more independent time, where you were doing one thing but now it's most of the time we're doing stuff together because our son's involved. So there's less us time, And then when there is, I've learned to make sure that I'm not messing around on my phone on Instagram, because then I'm always regret, like, I don't get to do what I want to do in the limited time that I have. And I'm still learning that, even though he's almost 2 years old, right? He's 1.5.
Yeah, stop rounding up. But yeah, I guess ultimately what I want to say is what you choose to do and how you choose to navigate life is going to differ from you to your neighbor, but also even within months and years of your life can change and morph. And that could be a struggle for an ISTJ who wants things set. But if you can learn to let go of your grasp on the control, then that's when you'll be able to breathe and say, let's see where the day takes us. And then there's no upset expectations because you have none.
I think that's a good, I think that takes a long time. Like you said, it doesn't happen right away. Work in progress.
Still.
Yeah. And what do you guys think? Like, if ISTJ, ESTJ, any thoughts? Are you married to one, girlfriend, boyfriend? Have they gone through a similar struggle or path in life? What do you say?
All right. See y'all later. Bye-bye.